Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Charles Faust, the superintendent for Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here to help us induct 12 more inductees. These are individuals who are more deserving and into our Reasons to Believe Alumni Honor Roll. This is my first opportunity to be a part of this program, and I'm extremely excited about the individuals who are being inducted. They are stellar representatives of our school district and the community. Each one of you is strong proof of the power of public education in Kansas City, Kansas, as well as the dedication of our staff to provide a solid educational foundation for the students who walk through the doors of our schools. Reasons to Believe was established in 2002 to generate pride and celebrate the progress of Kansas City, Kansas public schools. As part of the program, nominations are sought for the Reasons to Believe Alumni Honor Roll, which highlights successful alumni to encourage, inspire, and motivate today's Kansas City, Kansas public school students. The nominations are reviewed by a panel of judges that include members of the Board of Education, Reasons to Believe Steering Committee, students, business leaders, and/or a former Alumni Honor Roll recipient. Tonight, I am honored to say 12 of our former Kansas City, Kansas public school graduates will become a part of this prestigious group of individuals. Each of tonight's honorees are unique with distinct backgrounds that represent some of the best former students of our school district. Joining me to celebrate these honorees tonight are our board members, Dr. Valdinia Nguyen, Mrs. Wanda Page in her absence, Mr. Harold Brown, Mrs. Maxine Drew, Mrs. Janie Humphreys, Mrs. Brenda Jones, and Dr. Stacy Yeager. All are part of our school board. I also want to acknowledge American Education Week and the individuals who work daily to impact the life of each child in the school district. If you are present and a part of our school district, please stand. Each of us plays a mighty role in helping students succeed. Thank you for your dedication and educational excellence. Honorees, again, welcome and thank you for your powerful stories, which we will have the great pleasure of hearing and reading about today. Thank you for being a reason to believe. I'm pleased to welcome to the podium Dr. Valerie Chow, a Reason to Believe recipient in 2012, and the president of the Kansas City, Kansas Public School Foundation of Excellence.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. My name is Dr. Valerie Chow, and I'm president of the Kansas City, Kansas School Foundation for Excellence. On behalf of the foundation and the board of directors of the foundation, I welcome you and congratulate you. Tonight, the class of 2018 Reasons to Believe, you join an auspicious group of alumni who are products of USD 500. The foundation is a 501c3 organization that exists to support the education mission of the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools through scholarships and funding special projects that may not have been in the budget. Because we all stand on the shoulders of someone who inspired us, be it a teacher, counselor, or principal, our hope is that if called upon, you will be willing to give back to an institution that has given you so much. Again, I welcome you, congratulations, and enjoy the ceremonies.
Good evening. I am Dr. Stephen Scraggs. I am the principal of Sumner Academy of Arts and Sciences. I am honored to recognize a number of our graduates. The first honoree of the evening is a graduate of Sumner Academy of Arts and Science. You don't have to fit a prescribed mold to find greatness. You have something unique and beautiful inside you, and that is your most powerful asset. That is where you can change the world. This is Miss Lindsay Lindberg's advice to students. When she told her parents she was leaving her high-rise New York career in order to work with the circus, they were not thrilled about the idea, but it was this determination to discover her own unique greatness that gave her the strength to change the course of her life. She astounds audiences across the globe with feats of strength while using her Kansas charm to engage, motivate, and empower members of the audience. Ms. Lindberg is a bona fide strong woman, performing as Mama Lou, American Strongwoman. She has performed around the world for 15 years in places such as Fiji, Tasmania, Iceland, Ireland, Singapore, and New Zealand. Mama Lou is featured on the cover of the Guinness Book of World Records Superhumans Edition 2016 and holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the following: 2 world records for crushing the most apples in a bicep in 1 minute, 1 world record for most frying pans rolled by a woman in 1 minute, 1 world record for the most decks of cards ripped in half by a woman in 1 minute, 1 world record for the most telephone books ripped in half by a woman in 1 minute. She also employs hundreds of performers through her award-winning business, Artisan Oddities and Entertainment, located in San Antonio, Texas. Ms. Lindberg has also been named to More Magazine's 2012 inaugural Fierce List, sharing the honor alongside former First Lady Michelle Obama, recording artist Lady Gaga, and entertainment and media giant Oprah Winfrey. She attended White Church Elementary School, Eisenhower Middle School, and graduated from Sumner Academy of Arts and Science in 1998. She received a bachelor's degree in religious studies from Hunter College in New York. Please join me in honoring the 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Miss Lindsay Lindberg.
I have to say, it's really sweet and humbling to get to come home and receive such a kind award. When we all grow up here in Kansas, we know a lot about beauty, we know a lot about people, and we know a lot about dreams. And sometimes you do have to leave home in order to discover what those dreams are. And one of the things I realized was that you don't know what your dreams are going to actually bear fruit towards, but the most important thing is that you head in a direction and you have a trajectory and you go for it. And then the rest just kind of meanders the way that life does. And sometimes if you say yes to all the strange opportunities that life offers you, you end up traveling the world as a professional strongwoman crushing apples in your biceps. There was no job that said that one day you can graduate Sumner and go be a strong woman. In fact, I remember I wanted to work on Broadway. And I told my guidance counselor, and she really tried to kind of keep my feet on the ground. And she said, well, if you like music, maybe you can do special ed music for kids. And I remember being so discouraged. I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm going to be big in the world. And I just kept that little piece in my heart, and I did what I knew was right for me. And it's been an incredible journey. And I just actually came back home and did my 20-year high school reunion about a month ago. And it's just incredible to see everybody and all the strengths that they've created in their lives. I'm really honored to be here, and I say thank you to everybody, and congratulations to the rest of the honorees.
I am honored to recognize 6 outstanding honorees from Sumner High School. Ask Mr. Robert L. Milan, Sr. what the pathway to success is, and he will say these 3 words to you: home, school, and church. These are 3 essential elements to moving forward and developing a good life. It is the way he has lived his life, which was instilled in him by his parents. You have to be disciplined and get an education and remember to thank God for what you have and what you've been given, he said. Mr. Milan worked 33 years for the U.S. Department of Labor, where he retired as a federal representative in the Employment and Training Administration in 1986. While working at the Department of Labor, he wrote and produced the initial compliance manual for guidance to detect areas of discrimination where individual filed claims for unemployment insurance. The program was implemented nationwide and was used in all agencies. He has served as a vice president of the Board of Public Utilities for 27 consecutive years. The Robert L. Milan Sr. pump station located at 3760 North 63rd Street was named in his honor on June 12, 2007, in appreciation of his long tenure and tireless dedication to the BPU and for his service to Kansas City, Kansas community as the longest-serving elected official in Wyandotte County. Mr. Milan has spent his entire career giving back to the community. He is the president of the Northeast Economic Development Corporation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the housing needs of citizens. He was instrumental in securing the Fairfax General Motors plant for our community, which was recognized by former Mayor Joe Reardon Sr. He was the past president of Local 1748 of the American Federation of Government Employees. Mr. Milan attended Grant Elementary School, Northeast Junior High School, and then graduated from Sumner High School in 1952. He attended Kansas City, Kansas Community College, the University of Kansas Extension, Donnelly College, University of Colorado, Temple University, and Pioneer College. Please join me in congratulating the 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Mr. Robert Milan Sr.
Thank you very much and good evening. I was asked Mrs. Spears a few weeks ago about the time to give a little presentation of my past experience. She said, well, you got 2 minutes. I said, okay, so I counted down, we had 12 people. I went to Sumner High School, and 2 times 12 is 24, so I got 24 minutes. But anyway, I want to thank God for all the blessings, but he's been so good to me. But you know, things happen in a lifetime, and you got to think about a few things. First of all, every person, every face has a story. And behind that story are many elements. And one of those things is to be thankful for what you have. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention the quality of education we receive from Sumner High School. One of the teachers told me a long time ago, said, you know, before you go to college and try to get a sophisticated education, learn to do something with your hands. I said, well, what are you talking about? Well, very simple. You don't know nothing. You finish high school. Can you paint? Can you sew? Can you type? I said, no. I said, well, you got to do something. So I looked around to see what's available. We had a class called Builders Trade. So I enrolled in Builders Trade, and I learned how to build a house, learned how to paint. That was fine. That wasn't good enough. So then I decided to enroll in the machine shop. Well, how to run machines and so forth. So I learned that trade. And then last but not least, I learned how to operate a printing press with your hands and so forth. But I'm trying to say what happened there. Before I went to school, I had to earn a living. So with limited education, you had to do something with your hands. I learned how to paint. I made a living and raised my family. I learned how to build a house and paint. I learned how to paint and own my own paint company. Last but not least, I learned about printing. Not only did I learn about printing, I became the supervisor of the whole printing department for the Department of Labor. So you see, there's a lot of things can happen. So before you jump out and think about playing professional basketball and get a PhD, do something with your hand. It all depends whose hands it in. So be thankful for that. And last but not least, I'd like to say something to young people today. Two things, discipline and attitude. I suggest young people today need success in life. Two important things, discipline and attitude. Thank you.
Those who know Betty Maddox well would agree she lives by the words, "If I can help somebody, then living my life is not in vain," is what she saw as a child demonstrated by her parents and other parts of her village, those that influenced her life, including extended family, neighbors, friends, and her church congregation. She models this behavior both professionally and privately. Ms. Maddox is a substitute teacher for Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, where she teaches elementary school children in grades kindergarten through 4th grade. Her love of teaching comes from her mother, who taught 4th grade, or 4 grades in a one-room schoolhouse in Shreveport, Louisiana. Prior to Ms. Maddox teaching, she worked for 25 years for the United States Post Office, where she was elected to consecutive terms for local, state, and national offices with the American Postal Workers Union. Among the union positions she held, steward, chief steward, legislative director, and for 22 years, the position of editor, director of human relations, and director of injury compensation. On the state level, she was the director of human relations and director of injury compensation for 20 years. And at the APWU national headquarters, she was the Central Region Post Office Woman for Equal Rights Power Coordinator. She is credited with getting more than 250 workers' compensation cases by the Department of Labor for local and state. Earlier in her career, she was the first African American female to work for the first African American male vice president of the Human Relations Department at Universal Studios in California. This job allowed her to work with film and television legends, including Lucille Ball, Telly Savalas, Red Fox, Charlton Heston, Billy D. Williams, and Isabel Sanford, just to name a few. She has received many honors, including the Friends of Yates Outstanding Women of Distinction, Who's Who in American Universities and Colleges, American Postal Workers Union's Community Service and Human Relations Award, American Postal Press Editors Award. She's also an 18-year breast cancer survivor. Ms. Maddox was a student at Dunbar Elementary School and Northeast Junior High School before graduating from Sumner High School in 1962. She received her bachelor's degree in business administration and human relations from St. Mary College in Leavenworth, Kansas, and was president of her graduating class on the Donnelly campus. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Ms. Betty Maddox.
Good evening, everybody. To God be the glory. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Faust, the Superintendent of Schools, and Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education for this prestigious award. I am so honored and humbled to be the recipient of this award and to be a part of all the 218 honoree. I will always uphold this award and be mindful of what it stands for. I thank my family, my friends, church friends, and members, all teachers and principals who I call the village, who took the time to come out to share this honor with me. Also, I thank Dr. Dolores Pinker, my class friend since kindergarten, for nominating me for Reason to Believe. I congratulate you all, 2018 honorees. Sumner High School has provided me the foundation that I needed to meet the challenges later on in my life. The teachers, my parents, relatives, and church members that encouraged me and insisted I strive to be the best of what I do. My mother, who also was a teacher, taught in Louisiana in a one-room classroom, four grades level. She taught in Louisiana. She constantly stated education was important and to get all the knowledge I could because I would need it. I remember how she would sit by the table at our house with a switch with my siblings to make sure all homework was done before we went out to play. After graduation, my mother said, with all my achievements, to reach back and help others and never forget where I came from. I have done my best to do this. Let me tell you a little story about Sumner High School. First, we walked to school a mile from my house to Sumner High School. Rain, snow, heat, hail, and heavy books did not deter us from walking from school. Finally, my dad purchased a truck, and I think all the neighborhood felt that it was their truck. He would pack us all in the front and drive us to school. Then other children would flag him down, and he would go back and pick them up and take them to school. We were a family about education, and it was an exhibit in all my family going to college and getting some type of degree. Sumner was staffed with dedicated, highly educated, highly qualified, and committed black teachers, and they cared all about the students. They were committed to ensuring that all our students receive an excellent education and prepared us for college. They were part of our community, shopping at the places we shop and attended some of the churches we attended. The teachers encouraged us to be the best in whatever career we entered into. I had two favorite people that inspired me. The first one was Dr. Pitts, who came to Northeast as a new teacher, and he stated that our class taught him why he was teaching us. One of his favorite sayings was, "Our battle is to keep our youth to believe in their possibilities and in the worth of trying." As my mother would say, do the best at whatever you do. You have to want to be a success to be a success. My other teacher was Miss Graves, who taught me all my business and accounting courses. I was the president of the Future Business Leaders of America. She chose me to go for my training, which was my 6-hour class at H.W. Sewing Realty, where Chester Owens was my supervisor. I remember one day I had taken the minutes for the board meeting, and I typed them, and there was one error that I used whiteout. I took it to Mr. Chester Owens. He told me to redo the page with no errors, which I wasn't happy about. Later on in my life, I found this to be helpful. I learned much from him. I was hired by them to work summers. I saved the money for my college education. The job I cherished the most was working at Universal Studios in Hollywood and being the first African-American administrative assistant for the first African-American vice president of human relations at Universal Studios. Without training gained at Sumner High School, words of wisdom from my family in the village, I would not have been able to get the job I had. My second favorite job was my second job that I used a lot of knowledge gained at Sumner and college was working for the United States Post Office. And as the principal read, I had numerous responsibilities. I would leave work at the post office and go to school as a substitute teacher for many years. I don't know how I did it. I saw how I was able to help some students, and that made a difference in my life. So I decided to go back substitute teaching this year. To all children, I would like to say, my father would say, never say you can't do anything when you haven't even tried. Thank you.
The best advice Mr. James Hagee would give to a student today: understand there are no limits. Go as high and as far as you can, overcoming obstacles, and along the way helping others whenever you can. This is how he has lived his life, accomplishing major strides along the way by setting goals, staying focused, being humble, and respecting others. Mr. Hagee retired in 2013 as the Director for Education and Community Relations in the area of health disparities for the MD Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas. Through this position, he worked to link research in high school and college interns to conduct valuable work in health disparities. He participated in similar work for Texas Medical Center, impacting health disparities in areas such as access to medical treatment across the country. You can find evidence of his perseverance throughout his life as far back as his school days, growing up in the northeast area of Kansas City, Kansas, well into his college years and today. He graduated in the top 10% of his class and was an active school leader in the classroom, in football, and in track. A few of his stellar accomplishments during school include 3-time track and field state champion, Class AA in 1968, president of the marching and concert band, first chair clarinet and second chair orchestra in 1968, Big 8 conference champion and 2-time track All-American in 1971 and 1972, first African-American 4-letter winner in track and field at Kansas State University from 1968 to 1972, first African-American assistant track and field coach at Kansas State University in 1975, while earning his master's degree at the university. About 40 years ago, he used his sports skills and business knowledge to impact the University of Houston's downtown intramural sports program, which remains in existence today. He has received numerous awards, including being selected to the Kansas State High School Activities Association for induction into the Hall of Fame class of 2018. He attended Stowe School, Northeast Junior High School, and graduated from Sumner High School in 1968. Mr. Hagee has a bachelor's degree in secondary education and a master's degree in higher education guidance and counseling from Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Mr. James A. Hagee.
I mentioned to Dr. Scraggs that it was good to see him again because I had the great fortune of meeting him about 2 years ago when I attended one of my relatives' funerals here. And I hadn't been back within the walls of Sumner since 1968. And he was very gracious and invited me in, even though it was enrollment period and registration at the time. And we spoke for a few minutes. And he said, "You mind me talking to some of the teachers and faculty about your visit?" And I said, "Feel free." It was just good to be back in the walls of Sumner. Thank you, and also good evening. Wow. I've never been speechless, but words can't truly express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity to be here with you this evening and to bring greetings from Texas and to join this outstanding group of honorees. And I say congratulations. Now, you heard me say greetings from Texas, not the Houston Texans. Go Chiefs. Now, you see, I know what to say, and I'm not going to say I've been gone too long, but y'all have a good team working right now. First of all, let me thank God and my family, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Let me also say thanks to my family, because they've always been very supportive of all my endeavors, and I did have some. Next, I'd like to thank the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools for what you do for students and this community, but especially for what you did for me and my brothers, Dwayne, Anthony, and Dale, and all my cousins. I received a quality education, great teachers, great coaches, and great interscholastic activities with a sound foundation that prepared me to attend Kansas State University to earn that bachelor's and master's degree. One of my parents did not finish high school, and my dad did graduate from high school, but they gave me the foundation to work and strive and do the best you can. Also, I'd like to thank the committee for my selection because I am both humbled and honored for this very special recognition. I wouldn't be up here this evening if it wasn't for the person who nominated me Mr. Chester Pittman, my former track coach, assistant football coach for 3 years, and my PE teacher, which is where I learned how to swim, which probably prevented me from drowning at the Boy Scouts camp. Seriously. Coach and his adorable wife, Donna, could not attend this evening, but I will see them tomorrow. Also, I thank Mrs. Versa Ashley for her kind letter of support. She couldn't be here this evening. She is the former secretary for the 1947 class of Sumner High School, and she nominated me for the John A. Hodge Scholarship for $200 in 1968. And I tell you, $200 went a long way. $200 for me meant like $2,000. And so she is represented this evening by her lovely daughter, Sharon Ashley Davenport, who's also a K-State grad. And she has 2 daughters that went to K-State, and I call her my little sister. Sharon, would you wave your hand? Thank you for being here. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Robert Winston Kelly for his kind letter of support. He's a retired executive from HUD, Kansas City, Missouri. Also, we do get along. We have relatives in common, even though he went to Central High School and they beat us in a basketball game during my time at Sumner. But I'm delighted that you're here. Please raise your hand, Winston. Thanks for being here. I also like to take this opportunity, since I'm at the podium now, to say I was inspired to go to college because my dad had 3 sisters. They all were smart, and they continued their education after graduating from Sumner. One of them is here this evening, and she went to Washburn and also KU. I'd like to ask you to join me in a big applause for her because she taught at Sumner as well as Northeast Junior High School, and that's Miss Mary Hagee Calhoun. Please stand. She's not expecting this. She wasn't expecting that, but I'll hear about it later. That's my auntie. Because we're here for the Reasons to Believe celebration, I'd like to cite a few names and titles because as a youngster and teenager growing up at 2052 North 4th Street, I never would have believed or envisioned that I'd be involved in meetings or gatherings with such powerful influence or history makers, or that my input and comments would be sought after and valued and appreciated on the $25 billion bank board regarding the Community Reinvestment Act to set initiatives for the minority community in Houston when I was president for the Houston Citizens Black Chamber of Commerce. I never would have believed that I would ever meet a president of the United States, not beyond my wildest of dreams, but yet I met one president 2 times, and that was former President George Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, in 1998 and 2004, when we were centered with Secret Service agents one-on-one, talking about people we knew in common, as well as discussing education and community service. I would never have believed that I would work for the superintendent of schools for Houston ISD, Dr. Rod Page, the largest school district in the state at the time with 212,000 students and 15,000 teachers. But yet, I worked with him in terms of getting the $835 million bond issue passed. He later left the district and became the first African-American U.S. Secretary of Education under President George W. Bush. Would I ever believe or envision that I would meet as a community member and present an award to Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African-American female astronaut who flew in space in 1988, and again as a research scientist in 1992. Nor did I ever would believe or think that I would have dinner, meet, and present Chamber of Commerce awards to Drew Pearson, ex-Dallas Cowboy superstar, Super Bowl champion, or that I would be presenting a Chamber Award to Andre Ware, the 1989 Heisman Trophy winner and former quarterback with University of Houston and Detroit Lions. Additionally, I would say I never thought that I would be part of Kansas State's athletic history by being the first African-American 4-year letter winner in track when they allowed freshmen to compete varsity by the NCAA. I didn't even have a scholarship. I wasn't recruited. And then yet I went back as an assistant coach when I was 24, finishing up my master's. Now, I said all of that to say this. If I can do it, if James Hagee can do it, coming from my meager beginning, then I want you to continue to tell your students and your kids that they can do it, if they believe. But they must listen, pay attention, don't follow the wrong crowd. As others said earlier, set a goal, work hard to achieve that goal, stay focused, and also be humble. I know that, and you know that, and I know they can do it because I'm passionate about education because I believe in that old saying, education is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So we need to continue to give our kids and students that theory and skills in this educational setting and the school system so that they can claim that power and seek their journey. It's not an I thing, it's a we thing. Somewhere along the line, we have a team that all helped us honorees to be there, to lift you up when you're down and keep you focused and not get too big-headed. So I want to say it all started for me right here in the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. And I am so eternally grateful, and I thank you. God is good.
Dr. Catherine Lee Maddox Ridley said that she has an appetite for the joys of learning and teaching others. I look at myself as passing on the baton and equipping the next set of educators with what they need to be successful, she said. Her background in education has been primarily with the Kansas City, Missouri School District, where she has worked as a speech therapist, MAP test coordinator, and special education consultant. Her philosophy on why she teaches, she says, is summed up best with this anonymous quote: 100 years from now, it will not matter the sort of house I lived in, what my bank account was, or the kind of car I drove, but the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. As an educational advisor to Channel 9's Jelly Bean television program, she developed a homeschool program called HELP, that's Home Enrichment Language Program, for parents to use at home to develop and reinforce and strengthen a child's language skills. She is the co-owner, educational consultant, and motivational speaker of Pathways to Learning, LLC, which assists teachers in becoming better at their craft. Like her sister, and tonight's honoree, Miss Betty Maddox, her passion for education started with her mom. Dr. Maddox Ridley's story has been one focused on making a positive impact on the lives of others. She organized the Kids Against Crime rally to curb violence, which led her receiving a proclamation, key, and special day recognition from the cities of Raytown, Lee Summit, Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, as well as U.S. Representative Emanuel Cleaver II. She attended Dunbar Elementary School and Northeast Junior High School before graduating from Sumner in 1972. Dr. Maddox Ridley earned a bachelor's degree in both speech pathology and early childhood from the University of Kansas at Lawrence, a master's degree in education from Webster University, and a doctoral degree in education from Ottawa University, where she graduated summa cum laude. She also earned a second doctoral degree at age 60 in abnormal psychology with an emphasis in spiritual counseling from Faith Baptist Bible College, where she graduated summa cum laude. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Dr. Catherine Lee Maddox Ridley.
Acknowledging proper protocol to Kansas City, Kansas Public School District 500, to Superintendent Dr. Charles Voss, to Melissa Bedford Fears, a new friend, to Mr. Christopher Jackson. I am indeed honored to be a 2018 recipient of Reason to Believe. To the Reason to Believe Committee, the tenacity of your hard work makes all the recipients smile with proudness today. I am grateful with gratitude. From cradle to adulthood, I have been encouraged to ponder over the mere thought I can have a reason to believe, I can have a reason to be successful. Role models. Thank you, Mother Johnny Lee Maddox, for motivating me to believe. As I stress, my life is like a storybook. It's up to me to make it a bestseller. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King, for voicing with great conviction, "It is not the color of my skin that I will be judged by, but the content of my character." Thank you, Barack Obama, to tell me in later years, "Yes, I can." Thank you for the poetic expressions to dream the impossible dream. Thank you, God, for making the impossible dream become the possible, for I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. In kindergarten, thank you, Miss Winters, for introducing me to 3 words: good, better, best. Never settle for anything less. Make your good be your better until your better becomes your best. In 3rd grade, Miss Nolan, thank you for the lesson on the CH sound. I was talking in class, and she says, "Catherine, do you know the CH sound?" I was so fearful that it was going to get back home, I froze. And she said, after school, we would discuss the CH sound. I didn't know she was being diplomatic, because all I had to say was, "Shh." And that was what I should have done anyways. At Northeast Junior High, Miss Mary Calhoun covered the letters of the typewriter and told me I had to learn the old-fashioned keyboard. I never realized that she was preparing me for technology today. Then there was, in the northwest part of Old Wyandotte, a building stand great and tall. It received its name from a famous man. This building was Sumner High. Oh, dear Sumner High, how I love the name of Sumner High. I represent the best of the old, the best of the new, the great, great class, Michelle of 72. Back there in those days, we had real teachers. What are real teachers, Dr. Ridley? No excuses. Every student could read, whether you was in the Redbirds or the Bluebirds, based on your competency level of achievement. No buddy room, no time out, no behavior management, no late homework, no administrator scared of the teachers, no teacher scared of the parents, no parent scared of the child. No loss of accreditation, but just academically based learning with great parental support. The SH, which is a blend lesson, began my career in the phonetic elements of speech pathology, working with disorders of articulation, voice, and hearing. My career with Kansas City School District allowed me to teach intellectual, physical, socially, vocationally aspects of a child's development with great pride. My second, thank God, PhD equipped me spiritually to know, train up a child in the way he should go, to know I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, to know, order my steps. A passion, thirst, and hunger for equipping others to learn. This award motivates me to continue to reach out and touch as I pass on the educational baton of excellency for proficiency. For it does not matter what kind of car I drive. Thank you, Ms. Ridley, for the car. It doesn't matter what kind of house I live in. Thank you, Carlita, for being a part of our home. It doesn't matter what is in my bank account. Thank you, Bank of America, RVS, and Community. It doesn't matter these things, but what matters is that I impact the life of a child. I pledge to continue to do random acts of kindness. My family does book bags to the homeless, a mitten and hat project where we ride down Prospect and everyone on a bus stop gets mittens and hats. Kids Against Crime. My achievements, let the works I do speak for me. I thank God in closing for my support team. I won't take long. Mr. Carlton Ridley, a husband of 40 years, please stand. Carlita, my support team. Carlita Ridley, an awesome daughter who continues to be phenomenal in her own achievements, hoping that I have been a role model for her, Carlton, Angela, and Grass. My siblings are all here. I have 5 siblings with in-laws that are love laws to me. Would you please stand? And on yesterday, we lost one of our sisters. My nieces, my nephews, the Ridleys, the Dodds, the Stephersons, the Maddocks, the Bayless, the Marshall family, my church family, the Friendship Baptist Church, and my closest friends called BFF. I got a lot of people here. Will you all stand? And in closing, to God be the glory for the things He has done. If I can help someone as I pass along, if I can cheer someone with a word or song, if I can just do my duty as a Christian should, then my living will not be in vain. I thank you.
The same teaching excellence and quality education Dr. James Lindesay received as a student at Sumner High School is the same attention to detail and care he gives to the young adults who sit in his classroom as a professor of physics at Howard University in Washington, D.C. They nurtured us and helped us to be successful at Sumner High School, he said. Teachers would stay after hours and come into the school on weekends to help get us ahead. He, in return, has done the same by mentoring all who seek help and guidance, from undergraduate to graduate to postdoctoral associates. Dr. Lindesay realizes the encouragement was a boost he needed to become a noted professor of physics in one of the foremost historical Black universities in the country. He has published more than 100 scientific articles, including 3 books on high-energy physics, quantum gravity, and black hole physics. His books are used to teach students at Stanford, Yale, and Harvard. Prior to teaching at Howard University, he served for 3 years in the Peace Corps in Tanzania, where he taught nuclear physics, quantum physics, statistical physics, and electromagnetism to students at the University of Dar es Salaam. As a result of his work in the East African country, he was nominated for International Volunteer of the Year. He attended Douglas Elementary School and Northeast Junior High School before graduating from Sumner High School as valedictorian in 1972. His first college studies came as part of a dual enrollment program between Sumner and Kansas City, Kansas Community College. He received a bachelor's degree in physics from MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and both a master's and doctoral in physics from Stanford University. He participated in postdoctoral fellowship work at the University of California at Berkeley and another fellowship at the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Dr. James Lindesay.
So because we're short on time, I'm going to try to be brief. Please forgive me if I forget anyone. I first of all would like to, excuse me. I'd like to thank the Irene Byers and Leslie Burleson for nominating me. I'd also like to thank my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, my father, and my siblings, including 2 older sisters who Mr. Pitts at Northeast would teach in their science projects to explode wires, hypnotize crickets, and they got their little brother to do those fascinating things with them. My brother Craig, I want to shout out. He's a noted musician who designs and sets up my computers that I use for doing complicated calculations in curved space-times, quantum mechanics of black holes. And my baby brother, who lands rovers on Mars and builds microprocessors for the Mars rovers. I'd like to, all Kansas City, Kansas public high school graduates, public school. I'd also like to, I mostly would like to thank my teachers, whether it was Douglas Elementary School, my kindergarten teacher, Miss Graham, would come to the house to help this sort of slow student who they felt they were worried had learning problems to be able to talk right. Mr. Hall, my first role model in the 6th grade. Northeast Junior High School, there was Mr. Pitts, who, when I asked him, did he think I could become a physicist? He said I could do anything that I put my mind to. And I'm still going strong. There was Mr. Rice, Mr. Webb, Mr. Glasgow at Sumner, and there was Mr. Denham. He made me into the state algebra champion, and I still use that algebra to teach time travel to my students. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my peers and colleagues and friends who came out here to support me. You don't know what that means. Thank you so much.
Bishop Irvin Sims Jr. has spent his life improving the lives of others in this community and around the world. He has served as the pastor of Mount Carmel Church of God in Christ for 38 years. Bishop Sims founded the Mount Carmel Redevelopment Corporation in 1994 as a catalyst for change in the inner city of Kansas City, Kansas. MCRC's master plan calls for the construction of 48 single-family homes for low to moderate income families. To date, 16 of these homes have been constructed and are occupied. The plan includes Mount Carmel Place, a $6.1 million affordable senior housing facility with 61 units for low to moderate income level seniors that was completed in 2001. In partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, MCRC built an $8.4 million community center that was completed in 2006. Additionally, MCRC manages the Willa Gill Center that provides a free meal year-round to those in need. The corporation also owns and operates 8 transitional housing units and provides a broad range of social service programming in the community. Bishop Sims' work for the COGIC includes responsibilities for growth in 45 churches in Ghana, where he made more than 24 mission trips to Haiti, the Philippines, Dominican Republic, England, Wales, and Ghana. He is also a licensed professional engineer who worked for Owens Corning Fiberglass and Monsanto, where he traveled across the country. After 7 years, he returned to Kansas City and was hired as a manager for the Water Department and the Board of Public Utilities in Kansas City, Kansas for 18 years until his retirement. He attended Douglas Elementary School and Northeast Junior High School before graduating from Sumner High School in 1965. He earned a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Kansas in Lawrence in 1970. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reason to Believe honoree, Bishop Irvin Sims, Jr.
As I walked in this evening, I asked a young lady who was at the desk, were we required to give speeches tonight? And she said, well, here's what we do. We put a number of subjects in a bowl, and each of you are required to pull out a subject and speak for 45 minutes. And my response was, that's kind of dangerous, because you give a preacher 45 minutes on a subject that, and then we were just recently told you got 2 minutes. So I'm confused. So let me say thank you. Let me say thank you to all of the people who are in my life and have been in my life. Thank you to my dear wife of 48 years. Thank you to all of the outstanding teachers and administrators. And I look around the room, I could call names, but I want you to know who you are. You've poured into me. You took me off to the side and had words with me. You caught me fighting with a chalk eraser. And instead of reprimanding me, your response was, well, they're now telling us that chalk dust causes cancer. And he moved on. To God be the glory. I thank God that at the age of 16, I accepted the Lord Jesus as my Savior. I have no regrets about that. That's been the guiding light for my life. Without him, I'm nothing. And let me close with this. I've been battling cancer since 2011. I've had prostate cancer, surgery, and praise God, it's gone. Praise God, it's gone. A few years later, I'm one of the few men that found a lump on his chest. They took me in and did a biopsy or whatever, and ultimately had surgery to take whatever that was out. After they took it out, they realized it was a ductal carcinoma, and I had to have radiation for 5 weeks straight. But it's all gone. It's all gone. And then in 2015, I had 2 surgeries, one where they opened up my chest because they saw a mass. They didn't know what it was. Opened it up and took it out. And it was a thymic carcinoma. The thymic carcinoma is a very rare cancer. They thought they got it all, but said come back in 6 months and we'll check it again. Well, I went back 6 months later. They did the x-rays or what have you and found out that it was, in fact, a fast-growing cancer. And so in 2015, the second surgery, they went in my side between my ribs and took out as much cancer as they could get, and told me at that end of the year, 2015, beginning of 2016, that I was stage 4 thymic carcinoma, stage 4. 2016, January. Put me on chemotherapy, couldn't do that. 5 months of that, I was foggy in the brain. I was wrapped up in my covers and would get up on Sunday morning to try to deliver a message about the goodness of the Lord. And so I stopped chemo, refused to take it any longer. If that's the way life is, let me go to heaven. And you saw me walk up the stage. That means I'm still standing.
Good evening. I am Maritza Paul, the principal of Washington High School. I am excited to tell you about one of our graduates who's being celebrated tonight as a Reasons to Believe honoree. One of the quotes Mrs. Janie Gons thinks about on the job is, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you do not surround yourself with the best team, it will fail," she says. She learned this early in her career when she was employed at another company that did not survive. Instead of giving up after that experience, it inspired her to form a new company, Grapevine Designs, LLC, of which she is today the president and chief executive officer. The Lenexa, Kansas-based business specializes in providing full ad agency services, including branding, target marketing, and promotional products. She admits that it took patience, hard work, and choosing the right business that eventually led to her success as an entrepreneur. Becoming a business owner is hard work, she admits, but you can do it if you create a solid plan and build a culture of brand fanatics, a team that's committed to serving its customers while having fun. When Mrs. Gons is not working on developing great ideas for clients and employees, she is serving the community. One of the board positions she loves is at Amethyst Place, which helps women in transition from addiction. Through the program, she developed the 100 Jobs for 100 Moms program with Julie Carmichael from Amethyst Place, inspired by Sister Berta from Operation Breakthrough. The goal of the program is to find meaningful employment for moms, including on-the-job mentorship. It began in May 2013 with only 2 moms and 1 employer, Grapevine Designs. Since that time, 55 moms have found successful employment with 12 employers, and Grapevine Designs is one of those companies offering a second chance to women. She attended White Church Elementary School and Arrowhead Middle School before graduating from Washington High School in 1976. Mrs. Gons has a bachelor's degree in broadcast management from the University of Kansas, Lawrence. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reasons to Believe honoree, Mrs. Janie Gons.
Humbling is so much what I feel right now, just hearing the stories of the people sitting next to me. It is unbelievable that I could be sitting in this row. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools for including me in this. I'd like to thank my family, and I think there's somebody here from my work, but I'm not really sure. But I got a funny text, so it must be. Both of my parents and my in-laws have a very rich history of entrepreneurship in Kansas City, Kansas. My dad owned Fields Flowers on Minnesota Avenue, so I learned how to make your corsages, if you're wearing one, from my dad. So I'm grateful for everything that my in-laws and my parents taught me. They really are the reason I'm here. But you know why? Because we are the lucky ones. We are the lucky ones that had good parents. There are a lot of people who don't have that luxury. And if you had asked any of my friends, owning my own business was not a goal of mine. It just happened. And sometimes things just happen for a reason. And one of the reasons that I think that I ended up with a business is because
I ended up in a role of mentoring people, mentoring these women. And these women didn't have a chance like you and I. They didn't have parents that cared. Their mom prostituted them. They don't have an Aunt Sally or an Uncle Ben or anyone to help them. They have no brothers and sisters. They live in the opioid crisis. They live in a world that is very different from the world that I grew up in, and they need help. And they are in generational poverty, and there are a lot of them. And so when you think about this world that we live in, I think about the mentoring is the most important part of the program that you read about in this printed piece that you got tonight. The mentoring is what makes it successful, and we all should rise to the challenge of trying to find out how to help these people that are in this crisis. The thing that I have learned is that these women didn't even know what a team was. They had never embraced the thought that they could go to a job where someone might care about them and someone might teach them something that would be valuable that they could take and move forward with. So I think about that word mentor, and that was a word that I didn't even realize existed for many years. I don't think it was until 10 years ago that I was really aware of the word mentor. Shame on me. But I think about the people that mentored me, and they, of course, were my parents, because I was one of the lucky ones like you. My teachers and the administrators in this school district. I can tell you everything about every teacher, and my husband can tell you this, every OCD detail about my teachers. That's how much they influenced me. My in-laws were mentors to me. My bosses, my coworkers, and there are coworkers that I have that have been such great mentors to me, and then my friends. But at some point it dawned on me as a business owner that I have that responsibility to give back and mentor people and help them. And so I hope that what happens here tonight doesn't end here for me in coming back to this school system. My dream would be that the people here could help, and the people who have been in these classes before me, to continue that mentoring of these students and show them successful businesses, show them your success, put them up close and personal, help them gain experience with people, because that's what it takes in this world today if you don't have the kind of parenting that we may have had that have helped us to become successful. So if we can personally open the door for one student and show them the kind of world that maybe we have experienced through this kind of mentorship, then we really have provided reasons to believe. So thank you, everyone, for this award. I appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Marcos. I'm the principal at J.C. Harmon High School. Thank you for having me here tonight. It is my proud pleasure to introduce and welcome Neil Harris, 1980 graduate from J.C. Harmon High School. Mr. Harris worked hard to become an entrepreneur with 2 highly successful businesses in 2 states. He is the president of the Harris Data Storage, a 21-year-old records management and logistic distribution center in Lincoln, Nebraska. He's also the chief executive officer of Harris Security and Protective Services, LLC, which is an 18-month-old full-service security firm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Prior to starting his business, he had been working in the insurance industry for 11 years. His success lies in what he refers to as the 5 Ps. Prayer. Lean on this for faith and also for guidance. Plan. Create a plan you strongly believe in, one that drives you to your goal and your mission as a business. Persistence. Stay with your plan. Your path may change, but your goal is the same. Patience. Believe all the hard work will pay off in the end. It always does. Professional. Remain on your toes at all times, because you never know who you will meet that will help you achieve your goals. He founded the Nebraska High Five Youth Organization, which is designed to help kids through sports activities gain the knowledge and abilities to pursue college. He also is the co-founder of the Troy Hodges Memorial Scholarship Fund in memory and honor of his high school coach. The scholarship fund has awarded $72,500 to Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools students since 2012. Mr. Harris attended Banneker Elementary School and Northeast Junior High School before graduating from J.C. Harmon High School in 1980. He earned a bachelor's degree in language arts, speech and communication, and a minor in English from the University of Nebraska. Please join me in congratulating the 2018 Reasons to Believe honoree, Mr. Neil Harris.
Good evening. There's so many people to thank for tonight that I don't know where to begin. But I will say that there was a lady by the name of Mrs. Sparks. There was also Mrs. Kennedy, Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Gaines, Mrs. Hinchin, Ms. Roberts. Those are my elementary school teachers. Last but certainly not least, with a lady by the name of Roxy Joshua Carter. And I had the fortune of being born on her birthday. And lucky for me, she took me in as though I was more than just a student. There was teachers thereafter, Mr. Lindsay, Mr. Foster, a number of others that I'm certainly forgetting at this time. There was a guy as a high schooler by the name of Troy Hodges. His wife is here with us tonight. Ms. Hodges surprised me a couple weeks ago. I guess she didn't surprise me, but the district did, and told me that she had nominated me for this award. I was going through a little bit of a tough time at that time. 48 hours later, my mom passed away. But I was able to share with her that we had made it, that all her hard work, her conversations, and prayers were being met, that if you do the right thing, treat people the right way, you'll get the right result. I've been away from Kansas City on and off for 38 years or so. But everything I do as a reflection of me as a kid growing up in the projects, 1919 North 2nd Street. And there's ever a reason to believe, it's because of the people who cared. Mr. Pitts was here tonight. I didn't know at the time all the people that will have an impact on your life. But Mr. Pitts had a great impact on my life. Doesn't know it until me having this conversation right here today. My older brother was essential. Larry, do the right thing all the time. He was a reflection. He was a flag. He was my everything. If I didn't know what to do, I had a person who I could look just across the bedroom and tell that was the right thing to do. My brother did all the right things, and still to this day, he's the best person I know. But he's the one, through church, that told me stories about an older person that I didn't know that gave me hope, and that was Mr. Pitts. So thank you. To all the teachers, KCK, District 500, you don't know what seeds you're watering, you're fertilizing, you're praying over, and that you're given opportunity to. You have no idea what they're going to turn out to be. You don't have any idea when your words are going to click for them and they'll get it. I asked you not to exclude any of them because they're all important. You see, in some eyes, I was that one that wasn't. And in this day that I stand here today, I'm most humbled by this award because I know hard work, good results, and a great outcome does not come without support. Continue to do the work that we all are proud of and that we're all here recipients of tonight, because Kansas City is wherever I go. I've been gone for 38 years, but I've never been absent. I love you all. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Stewart, the principal of Wyandotte High School, and it is with great pleasure this evening that I honor two graduates of Wyandotte who are reasons to believe. The best advice given to Mr. Timothy Johnson is never quit. That advice was given to him by his high school football coach, Clyde Strimple, and it is advice that he continues to give to others today. That never quit attitude has served him well. He began his professional career in law enforcement, where he served for 31 years. He rose to the rank of undersheriff in Wyandotte County and would later serve as chief of police in Lindsborg, Kansas. After retiring from public safety, Mr. Johnson entered the world of education through the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Teaching Fellows Program. This unique program allows individuals with bachelor's degrees in science, technology, business, engineering, math, or English to teach full-time while earning a teaching certification and master's degree in education. Through the Teaching Fellows Program, he earned a master's degree while teaching English at his school, Wyandotte High School. For the last 8 years, he has been teaching social studies and history at Basehor-Linwood High School. His men and women's high school powerlifting teams there have won a combined total of 18 Kansas State championships during the last 11 years. He has received several honors, including Kansas Teacher of the Year in 2014, named by the Kansas City, Kansas Rotary Club as Kansas City, Kansas Educator of the Year in 2008, an outstanding official by the Public Education Task Force in 1988. Mr. Timothy Johnson attended Eugene Ware Elementary School and West Junior High School before graduating from Wyandotte High School in 1970. He has a bachelor's degree in history and political science from Bethany College in Lindsborg, Kansas, a master's degree in administration of justice from Wichita, Kansas State University, and a master's degree in education from Pittsburgh, Kansas State University. Please now join me in congratulating 2018 Reasons to Believe honoree, Mr. Timothy Johnson.
Awesome. Okay, I'm up here. 3 hours ago, I got a phone call. After almost a year, my son comes home from Afghanistan as a Brown Beret Ranger, and we talk. It's a wonderful feeling, and I hear these words: it's wonderful to be home. It's wonderful to be home. 1962, little Tim Johnson, 7 years old, goes to Wyandotte High School. His dad's a teacher there. He starts running the halls, and I mean running the halls, because Mom wouldn't let me stay at home. I had to go to work with Dad a lot. Are there haunted stories of Wyandotte? Some nights. Maybe the little Johnson boy knows some of the tricks that were played. Would grow up get a chance to see incredible athletes, plays, theater at Wyandotte. It's Ed Asner's birthday today, folks. Incredible people. I learned from them. Wyandotte was home. Wyandotte was family. Nearly 20 of my family members, brothers, sisters, my wife, cousins, their family went to Wyandotte. Home. Family. Finally, I come back. One day they let me go to school and come back to Wyandotte. Mr. Thompson says, we're going to bring you back. And I think, Mr. Thompson, do you really know some of the things I did in high school? I loved my time. Mary Stewart put me up for a little award, and I'm thinking, does she know some of the things I did when I was in high school? But those kids became my new family. Wyandotte was home. It's awesome. I've been gone a couple of years. I'll just leave you with this. Same thing I heard from my son. It's wonderful to be home.
I believe it was room 204, or close to that, Tim, right? And we're looking forward to bringing you back now to help our young students with the law enforcement area. We look forward to that. I am equally proud to introduce another well-deserving recipient of the Reasons to Believe honor from Wyandotte High School, Miss Janine Brown. Miss Janine Brown does not think she would have been thinking about attending college if it had not been for the support of her guidance counselor at Wyandotte High School, Mrs. Gwen Wills. She saw something in me and put all of her energy into making sure I went to college. She researched scholarships and helped me fill out applications, which allowed me to graduate debt-free, she says. Miss Brown, who became a first-generation college student, said Mrs. Wills brought to life the possibilities for my future as a certified public accountant. Her counselor also recommended her for the Inroads program, a career development program providing nearly 2,000 internships in corporate America annually to college students. Through this program, she was able to obtain an internship in accounting at Sprint. Her on-the-job experience at Sprint would later lead to a full-time job at the company after she graduated from college. After more than 12 years at the telecommunications company, she joined Hallmark Cards Incorporated, where she is currently responsible for financial analysis and managing retail debt collection. The help she received in high school, along with the influence of her dad, inspired her to share her experiences with others. She says, I feel an obligation to give back because of the valuable input I have gained from others over the years. An example of this work is her involvement with Prep KC, where she has participated in the career jumping program to share insights about working in the corporate world and reaching career goals. She also devotes her time to serving on the Hallmark African American Leadership Council and the Finance Diversity and Inclusion Council. Her passion for diversity and inclusion were recognized with the CEO Walking the Talk Diversity Award. She attended Fairfax Elementary School and Eisenhower Middle School before graduating from Wyandotte High School in 1989. Janine Brown's bachelor's degree is in accounting from the University of Kansas from 1993. She is a certified public accountant and a certified supply chain professional. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reasons to Believe honoree, Miss Janine Brown.
To every educator, administrator, every staff person that goes to work every day with a focus on helping students to succeed, you are my reason to believe. So leading up to tonight, I told the story about Mrs. Wheels a lot of times, so I'm not going to repeat it to you, but you heard about it, you read about it. So when you hear about the work that I do in the community, when you read about how I engage with students, I have to do that work because I am honoring the effort that Mrs. Wheels put in me when I was in high school. I get emotional when I think about Mr. Stremple also. He was my math teacher, so he was very influential in my life also. Bishop, I've told my friends and family over the years that it takes a special anointing to work with kids. Tomorrow, I'm going to be hanging out with a group of third graders. So I hope the anointing in this room stays with me while I'm in the classroom tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I am Yolanda Thompson, the very proud principal of F.L. Schlegel High School, and I am before you to introduce Schlegel's 2018 Reason to Believe, Mr. Lyle Gibson. Mr. Gibson's love of history began at Quindaro Elementary School, where his 6th grade teacher explained the impact of the slave trade. Mr. Gibson stated, "That moment provided the cornerstone of where I am today and influences how I teach students. The rest is history." Since that influential lesson, Mr. Gibson has been living out his life's dream of teaching history for more than 20 years. With more than 14 years' experience with Metropolitan Community Colleges, he is currently in his 2nd year as Division Chair of Social Sciences at Penn Valley in Kansas City, Missouri. In this position, he is responsible for scheduling disciplines, hiring faculty, collecting data, assessments, and working on the 2020 accreditation process for their institution. Gibson is described by a friend as embodying the fulfillment of learning and discovery by utilizing innovative teaching methods to inspire students. He incorporates films, discussion, and lecture, and encourages students to become active in their student organizations. For the last several years, he has incorporated a civil rights learning community where students get on a bus and travel around the country to see some of the major milestones and events of the civil rights era. Next year, he will take a group of students to Alabama, where they will visit Selma and travel across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where Bloody Sunday occurred on March 7, 1965. His passion for history and research has led him to discoveries about his family's past that he shares in his book, Black Tie, White Tie, that follows his family's story from colonial times to present day. Mr. Gibson's academic journey in this district started with Quindaro Elementary School, Eisenhower Junior High School, and culminating with his graduation from F.L. Schlegel High School in 1984. With this strong educational foundation, he attended the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, his mother's alma mater, who is his greatest inspiration. He also has earned a master's degree in history from the University of Missouri in Kansas City. Please join me in congratulating 2018 Reasons to Believe honoree, Mr. Lyle Gibson.
Good evening, everyone. My former mentor, Dr. Wynn, said I had 45 seconds, so I'm going to keep this brief. Thank you, God. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to my children, my friends. Thank you to USD 500. As mentioned in the bio, District 500 truly is my foundation. I try to come back and just travel through the community just to see things as much as possible. But it really is, it has a special place in my heart because when I started in 1st grade, we were still in the old Quindaro building. I don't even know if any of you all remember the old Quindaro building before they built that new one. And and I have so many memories there, but of all of the teachers, a host of them, and Dr. Pinkert is here tonight, but my sixth grade teacher, Dr. Helen Yates, she's really the one that kind of turned things around for me, and that's when I developed my passion for history. But that journey continued on when I was at Eisenhower Junior High School. I really developed a passion for music, so I played in orchestra and the band. And then finally, my last 3 years at Schlegel High School. And, you know, like many students along the way, sometimes you have a teacher, they have to pull you aside and kind of talk to you a little bit and set you straight. Other teachers pulled out the paddle with the holes in it and had to set you straight. But I had one teacher who really said something, and for the past 35 years, it's just stuck with me. And that was my former French teacher, Mrs. Jones. And I don't know what's become of Mrs. Jones today, but she pulled me aside and she says, "I see something in you. I know that you can do good things." And like I said, that stuck with me for 35 years. So Ms. Jones, wherever you are, merci beaucoup. And the last thing I want to say is, especially I see the ROTC folks in here. I'm an Air Force person, 1986 to 1990. For these young students, believe in yourself. Make sure that you gravitate to those teachers, because that's what they're there for. They're there to give something to you. But remember, as you take each step in life, make sure that you turn around to try to help at least one other person. Each one, reach one. And one of the things that I was thinking about as all of this was coming about, it's not only reasons to believe. District 500 gave me a reason to dream. And I don't really hear people talking about dreaming anymore. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to be the first black astronaut, but I didn't know it was black guys already in the program. But I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be a musician. And then I wanted to be in radio and television and broadcast. And then all of a sudden, while I was stationed overseas, my roommate had 2 books, one on Malcolm X, the other on Dr. King, and history is where I am today. So once again, thank you all. I really appreciate this. I'm humbled. I appreciate the opportunity to be among such a great group of honorees tonight. Thank you, and God bless you.
Tonight's program has been amazing, inspiring, and gives us all the reasons to believe. Before I give thought about tonight, I want to thank some folks who are responsible for making this event successful. Again, if you had anything to do with the planning of the program, please stand to be acknowledged. I also want to give thanks. Only one? Okay. I also want to give a special thanks to you to Doug Clements and his staff for hanging the banners of all the honorees outside the district office. Jonathan Stratton, Sean Phillips, and Chris Jackson for taking care of the audio visual and the videograph. Bridget Desmet, Leandra Hood, Tanisha McClooney, Michelle Lynn, Jan Thomas, Denise Chapmalt, and Lene Mead for decorating and helping out this evening. Grace Elmore and Mike Keener for communications associated with the photography, graphic design, and the website. Washington High School Junior ROTC for serving as escorts and helping with food service. Jessica Linhart, Donna Johnson, Suzanne Hatcher, and the All-City Children's Choir for musical entertainment. David Tatum and his crew for setting up the event space, and Melissa Fears and Raquel Alaya for coordinating the event. And of course, congratulations to the 2018 Reasons to Believe honorees. We celebrate your accomplishments and you giving back to the students and the communities. We celebrate you as reasons to believe in all that is great about the public education in Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. You are a reason to celebrate and most definitely a reason to believe. Please join us in the lobby to greet our 2018 Reasons to Believe honorees and enjoy the refreshments. Thank you and have a good night.